you are good to go.
Call the Orange Township Board of Zoning Appeals meeting to order.
We're going to take roll call. Mr. Trebs?
Here.
Ms. Ross?
Here.
Ms. Neff?
Here.
Ms. Sundar?
Here.
And Mr. Pax?
Here.
All right, we have a quorum.
Okay. For all of those of you going to testify, please raise your right hand and be sworn. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, state "I do." And when it's your turn to offer testimony, state your full name, address, and affirm that you've been sworn in. Do you swear?
I do.
Thank you.
All right, good evening, members of the Board of Zoning Appeals. I'm sure you're aware we have a full agenda today. All of the items that you have before you are new business. We will finish all of that with going through the April minutes, and yep, that should be the order today. So the first item of new business is for residential variance request, and that is at the address 5647 Mercier Street under variance case VA 2414. And I will go right into the summary. So the applicant is requesting an area variance from rezoning case 13-0302 /15-0446 North Farms to allow for a paver patio with a concrete base to encroach 8 feet and 1 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback in an area zoned single-family planned residential district. The property is currently owned by Jyoti Prava Badajina. For the surrounding area, we have to the north side the zoning district, single-family planned residential, land use single-family residence. Same for the south, single-family planned residential district zoning, land use single-family residence. East is also the same for both zoning and land use. And then the west is same zoning district, single-family planned residential district, and land use is both single-family residences and Mercier Street. Moving on to our aerial views, the close-in view depicts the property. Had been an open area in the backyard. The intent is to have the patio to the rear of the home, stretching across most of the back of the home. Zoomed out view in the midst of North Farms neighborhood. And now we're at the staff review portion. This again is area variance request from rezoning 13-0302 and 15-0446 North Farms for the rear yard setback requirement of 35 feet. The proposed patio would encroach 8 feet 11 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback, and this is roughly a 25% variance request from rezoning case 13-0302 15-0446 North Farms. And this Exhibit 1 has a nice contrast to it so you can get a good idea of the extents of the patio. Typically with paver patios, you have no requirement for a permit to be submitted, but this one's different in that you have a base that is concrete. So it's a solid base that the applicant is going to have installed, which triggers the requirement for the permit and also the variance in this case. You can see the measurement that show the patio would be 26 feet and 1 inches from the rear property line, and then encroaches 8 feet 11 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback. The orange line represents that 35-foot rear yard setback, and this, to be clear, this particular exhibit was digitally edited for the contrast and clarity. For site photos, these give you an idea here of the location of the proposed patio in reference to the property line. So the photos taken west, and the preliminary work on site does depict generally the approximate size of that proposed patio. The large cone represents where the property line is, and the small cone, if you can make it out in some taller grass there, is the location of the 35-foot setback. The second photo is the reverse of that, so you get a better idea of the setback line with the small cone facing east, the preliminary work showing that approximate size of the proposed patio, and then the large cone in the distance and background is the where the property line is. All right, and then next up is the criteria for consideration. That's it.
Is there anybody who would like to speak, to give?
Applicant states she doesn't really have any materials or presentation to
Okay.
deliver, but if you had any questions for her, by all means.
Sure. Thank you. Board members, questions?
No questions. No questions.
The one question I have, I guess, is there any correspondence from any of the neighbors that none has been received?
None has been received from,
They were notified as customary?
Yep.
Okay. All right. I mean, I'm looking at the photographs, and there's pretty good separation from the proposed patio, even to the rear property. The 20-foot drainage easement helps on that. Also, looking at their plot plan there in the graphic, so adequate separation, that's something that's positive towards the project.
Any other comments?
The HOA, do we have to worry about that or no?
HOA, that would be up to the applicant to work out. That's not a requirement of
Okay.
zoning.
Just making sure.
Yeah,
May I go ahead with the motion?
certainly.
Based on the considerations, I move to approve case number VA 2414 for the property located at 5647 Mercier Street, Lewis Center, Ohio, seeking an area variance from rezoning case 13-0302, 15-0446 North Farms to allow for a patio with a concrete base to encroach 8 feet and 11 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback in an area zoned single-family residential district.
A second.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Ms. Sundar. Those voting, Mr. Travis,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Ms. Snell.
Yes.
And Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
All right, motion carries and the variance is approved.
Thank you. And, yes,
You have to
Can
come
you
in.
step
you have to be up here, state your name and that you've been sworn in, and your address.
Address.
Yeah, my name is Siva Sitaraju. My address is 5628 Dorrington Street. My property is behind this one. I also received the notification on this hearing. I didn't understand what is the impact to my property. Is there any impact because of this one, or why did we receive this hearing notification?
You're within
Yep.
200 feet.
200
You're-
feet of the
Yep,
property.
adjacent property owners within 200 feet are notified whenever there's a variance
Okay.
request.
Okay.
And again, the variance is for the patio to encroach into the rear setback of 35 feet. So that's why you were notified.
So it's no impact to us at all, right?
Well, all the work is going to be on this address. So the patio is being added to the rear of this home, and the setback will be about 26 feet away from the rear property line.
Got it, yeah, so, thank you.
Okay, thank you. To all of you, once the case is over that you're curious about, you may leave. You don't have to stay through the whole thing, so. Yep.
Unless you want to.
You're welcome to stay, it's just,
It's pretty exciting.
Yep, we're moving on to the next variance.
Yeah.
So-
okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
too. Thank you.
All right. So next item of new business, that would be for the property located at 4911 Tralee Lane, the zip code 43082 is Westerville. The summary for this application, the applicant is requesting an area variance from rezoning case 12-0223, Sanctuary and Enclave at the Lakes, to allow for an outdoor kitchen area and fireplace to encroach 10 feet and 10 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback in an area zone single-family plan residential district. The site currently contains wooden stairs and a small concrete patio. The project plans to add a larger paver patio, a fireplace, and an outdoor kitchen area. Only the fireplace and the kitchen area have concrete footers, so the rear yard setback applies only to these two features. The property is currently owned by Sarah and Matthew Geldehoff. For the surrounding area to the north, the zoning district in all cases, north, south, east, and west, the zoning is single-family plan residential district. Same case for the land use, and the only exception, Tralee Lane is located to the south of this property, as you will see in the aerial views. Focusing in on that aerial view, this is a pie-shaped lot, wider in the front, and it tapers towards the rear with some, we could say, unusual geometry. Kind of the deepest spot is to the north, and you can see here it's at the curve, kind of where the Tralee Lane begins curving to the other direction. So for the staff review portion, there are some interesting setbacks here, but we have measured them out for your convenience, so you can see precisely the distance that the proposed features would encroach. So that fireplace and outdoor kitchen area, they will both encroach 10 feet and 10 inches into the 35-foot rear yard setback. This is a roughly 31% variance request from rezoning case 12-0223, Sanctuary and Enclave at the Lakes. So the measured site plan is Exhibit 1, and these measurements show the deck area would be 24 feet and 2 inches, and let's see, specifically, that's part of the fireplace, not the deck, would be 24 feet and 2 inches away from the rear property line, encroaching 8 feet and 6 inches into that 35-foot rear yard setback. And then to clarify about the other feature, they're both a 24-foot and 2-inch measurement away from the rear yard setback, so it makes it a little bit easier for you to understand. That portion of the outdoor kitchen, I think, is what we're looking at, is the other 24-foot and 2-inch setback item. So both would be a 31% approximately variance request.
If I could just jump in real quick, just to eliminate any confusion. I wouldn't be a meeting without an error by me, but, so I believe I updated this section here, but not this one. So this number is not correct, and the 8 feet 6 inches of encroachment is not correct.
Okay.
But it is correct up here. It's 10 foot 10 inches is the
Yep.
encroachment.
So 24 feet and 2 inches is correct for the setback, and then 10 feet and 10 inches is correct for the encroachment.
And the percentage is correct as well.
Okay. I was about to ask that. Thank you.
All right, so moving on to our site photos. In fact, these were provided by the applicant for reference. Just to point it out, the current setting includes those wooden stairs. You can see that filter into a smaller existing patio, and then so that's the left side. And the right side, you can see the new patio area that includes both the outdoor kitchen, countertops, and also that fireplace to the rightmost side. The next page includes our site photos in a large size for maximum details. So the photo is taken facing to the southeast, and the large cone in the distance represents the 35-foot setback, and the smaller cone and the measuring wheel represent the edges of the kitchen area and the fireplace. And again, that lot line, because of the geometry, It kind of goes a little bit in the direction of the house from left to right, so we did our best to give you an idea of how far both of those items would encroach. I think the second photo helps out with that, as you can see up displayed now. The photo taken facing east, in that large cone represents the 35-foot setback, and the smaller cone and the measuring wheel represents the edges of the kitchen area and the fireplace. So the red line was digitally added to give you an approximation of the rear property line for that reference. I believe that's all I have. Yep, the board analysis and factors for consideration are on the next page. Any questions from the board? If not, you can lead into open up the applicant for their presentation.
I'm Andrew Hampel. I'm representing Geldos, I'm a contractor.
Okay.
Do you guys have any questions for me at
Have you
all?
been-
Or?
Sworn in, I think, yes.
You've been sworn in, right? Okay.
He needs to state his address.
Yeah, you need to state your address as well as your name.
Okay, so I'm Andrew Hampel. My personal address is 244 East Weisheimer Road, and that's Columbus, 43214.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for him? Do you have any comments you want to give us?
My main comment is they've just got a challenging lot, as you can kind of see on there, so that's why we went to this side with it.
It's nice.
That's it, basically.
Any comments from the neighbors or anything on this?
I did not receive any correspondence.
Okay.
We have a note from a neighbor saying that they're excited to see the project.
Any other comments from the audience? Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to make a motion?
Do you want?
I'll make a motion. Based on the factors that we've heard, I move to approve case number VA 24-20 for property located at 4911 Tralee Lane, Westerville, Ohio, seeking an area variance from rezoning case number 120223, is it Enclave?
Yep.
And Sanctuary at the Lakes to allow for a deck
Oh,
to
and just to clarify, I'm sorry, you can state that that is for an outdoor kitchen and fireplace, not a deck.
Oh, to allow for an outdoor kitchen and fireplace to encroach,
10,
it's
10,
10
10.
feet and
Yep.
10
10
inches?
inches.
Okay, into the 35-foot rear yard setback in an area zone single-family residential district.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Neff, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Trevs?
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
Ms. Shindar?
yes.
Okay, that motion carries.
Enjoy your evening.
Thanks.
Okay, that was all for the residential requests for the evening, and our next application is for the property located over at 350 East Orange Road, and that is a conditional use request for that property to install a new monument-style sign. The subject property is currently a place of worship located at 350 East Orange Road. The applicants received approval of the place of worship from the Board of Zoning Appeals on May 18th, 2023. The applicant is seeking a conditional use from Section 22.04A of the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for the installation of a monument-style sign. The surrounding area to the north, the zoning is planned commercial office district as well as planned industrial district. I will note also to the north is Orange Road, East Orange Road. And the land use for these places is Olentangy Local School District, offices, and the U.S. Post Office. The south, the zoning district is multifamily planned residential district, and the land use is Hidden Ravines condo residences. Towards the east, there's planned commercial and office district zoning, and the land use is the Toy Box, which is currently undeveloped land. And to the west, the zoning is multifamily planned residential district and planned commercial and office district, with land uses being Hidden Ravines condo residences and Healthy Pets veterinarian office. All right, zoomed in view shows what I had just described. Wooded lot towards the rear, direct access onto East Orange Road, and then also wooded as you look to the east and the west of that site. Zoomed out view, 23 is the intersection at the left, towards the left, obviously west of here. And I'll move into our staff review for the conditional use. Let's see. I think you can get a sense of the conditional use. There's a lot of text here, so I'm just going to, if everybody's okay, jump to the sections that we provided some comments to. So I'm beginning on the next page. Okay. All right, so this is the determination that the proposed sign meets all of the following requirements. Section 3A, the sign is a monument-style freestanding sign. The applicant is proposing a monument-style freestanding sign as shown in Exhibit 1 following. Section B, the maximum height of such sign does not exceed 8 feet above the average grade of the site, and the sign is located at a distance from any street right-of-way line as required. According to Exhibit 1, the proposed sign will be 7 feet 0 inches from grade to the top of the sign. The sign is proposed to be approximately 22 feet 0 inches from the property line adjoining the right-of-way off of East Orange Road, and according to Section 22.04A3E, the minimum setback and area is permitted is 15 feet 0 inches away from the right-of-way line, so this sign meets this standard. C, the sign does not have more than 2 sides or surfaces. The sign as proposed will have 2 sides as shown. D, the display area of any one side or surface does not exceed 1/2 of the total display area permitted. The permitted area for the sign and its location is 88 square feet. Total sign area proposed is 60 square feet, so the sign meets this standard. For E, the total display area of all surfaces does not exceed 32 square feet, or a maximum of 16 square feet per side or surface when the sign is located 15 feet away from the primary frontage street right-of-way line. For each additional 1 foot setback from the right-of-way line, an additional 8 square feet of total display area, or a maximum of 4 square feet per side or surface, will be permitted up to a maximum of 128 square feet of total display area, or a maximum of 64 square feet per side or surface as permitted. The proposed 2-sided sign will be 30 square feet per side. The sign will be set back 22 feet from the right-of-way line, right-of-way along East Orange Road, so 44 square feet total is permitted, and the sign meets the above standard. Not more than 5 colors are used for the purposes of the section. Black and white shall not be considered colors. The proposed sign meets this standard. No part of such sign will be closer to any street right-of-way line than 15 feet, nor closer to any property line than the applicable building setback line if the adjoining property is in a residential district. The proposed sign will be set back 22 feet from the street right-of-way line, and that meets this standard. The function of such sign, and I think I'll just go through these since we're almost done. The function of such sign is in keeping with the uses in the surrounding area. Such sign will be in harmony with the buildings on the site and will not detract from the appearances of the general neighborhood in which it is located or adversely affect property values in such neighborhood. And such sign will not constitute a traffic hazard or contribute to traffic problems through confusion with traffic control devices, interference with field of vision of motorists using streets or driveways in the area, or by creating a visual distraction for such motorists. And again, just to underscore that there is no variance being requested here, so that's why you see it as strictly conditional use. They are meeting all of the standards for sign location and size, as well as height. All right, Exhibit 1 being the sign details, and as noted, it's a 7-foot tall sign from finished grade to the top of the sign. And this brick structure is noted as being for illustration. The applicant can go into a little bit more detail about any finishes, but we have noted that it is a compliant solid base. The sign location is on the next page. Gives you a little bit better idea. I noted that it's not precise, but we can give you an idea. This measurement with the blue line is representative of 22 feet total distance. So you can see that's further in from the utility pole, which is currently out there.
Eric,
And it
which
meets
blue
the
line?
standard. You have to,
Left side.
That, right, okay, sorry,
yeah.
my.
And I could have my colors incorrect, so
it's
keep me
correct.
accountable. Okay.
Okay, I couldn't see that on the smaller exhibit and.
Yeah, I was getting confused with the line I was seeing parallel with Orange Road.
Yeah.
So that, again, the 22-foot dimension you're referencing
Yep.
is the south end of that blue line that we're looking at, or?
That's correct. That's the closest point of the sign will be at the south tip of that line. So it would be no closer than, I mean, where the
right
line begins is
Right
where the
there.
sign's
Okay.
edges.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And I think technically, the standard is measured from the right-of-way, which actually is in the middle of the road
Yeah.
in this circumstance, so it's actually more than 22 feet from the right-of-way line.
Yep.
But it's just a little redundant, so.
But of import, because I'm trying, my main concern is vehicles exiting out of their drive and having clear view shot of Orange Road traffic that is heading eastbound. Any obstruction for park, especially the solid base.
Sure.
So, so that's where I had sensitivity on whether it was 22 from edge of curb or center line of Orange Road, and the ability, at least for one car, if not two, that they can have eye shot down Orange.
Yeah,
And
so,
you can also defer in just a moment to the applicant for any further
Yeah,
clarification
okay.
about their thought process behind putting the sign at that location.
Good evening, Amit Rastogi, resident of 1768 Little Bear Loop. I've been sworn in already. So the sign is 22 feet from the road, and even if you were to have two cars back to back, they both will be able to see both sides of the road without a problem.
Okay.
Appreciate that. That's the key distinction that I wanted to make. It's from the curb line versus the center line.
There's lots of visibility. It's a very large open area. If you were to drive down that path, you will notice that there's lots of space between where the cars will start, and even a couple of cars behind them, still be able to see both sides of the road.
Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Is the sign lighted in any way?
No, it's not illuminated from inside. There will be a light outside that will throw some light on it for the evening.
Okay. Do we need that? We don't.
It would, generally speaking, it's not internally illuminated. It wouldn't be something that zoning would enforce.
it's allowed to be illuminated.
Correct. But by that type of lighting in particular, that's not
Yeah.
something that we look at.
Okay. Other
Any
questions?
other questions? Thank you.
That was the only question I
Yeah.
had about the lights.
Lighting,
Okay.
yeah.
Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak?
Anyone else want to speak on this? Don't jump all up at once.
No, thanks.
Okay, thank you.
And to be clear, I did have only one phone call correspondence. That was the veterinarian office. They just were inquiring generally what the case is about. They had no statements about their opposition or
And
endorsement.
that's the one to the west, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep, correct.
Okay.
If there are no comments from the board? Based on our considerations, I move to approve case number CU 2415 for the property located at 350 East Orange Road, Lewis Center, Ohio, seeking a conditional use from Orange Township zoning's resolution, Article 2204A, to allow for the construction of a monument sign in an area zoned farm residential FR1.
I second.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Ms. Sundar. Those voting, Mr. Krebs,
Yes.
Mr. Pax?
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
And Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
All right, and that motion carries.
Cool. Thank you. He's got a question, Eric.
Oh, I'm sorry. Next item of business, another new item. This is for the property located at 601 Corduroy Road, and the variance case number VA 2416. The applicant is Tracy Deal with Expedite the Deal. For the description of the request, subject property is located on the north side of Corduroy Road. This is within Creekside Industrial Park. The site is currently under construction and it will be a Columbus granite facility. The site is currently zoned Planned Industrial District under rezoning case 11-0055. Within the development text, it states that wall signage will comply with Article 22 of the Orange Township zoning resolution. The applicant is requesting an area variance from Section 22.03C1 of the Orange Township zoning resolution to allow for 2 wall signs to be installed above the permitted 15-foot 0 inches in height. The signs are proposed to be 26 feet and 8 inches from grade to the top of the signs. The surrounding area to the north, the zoning district is multifamily planned residential district. The land use there is Orange Grand multifamily homes. To the south is planned industrial district zoning, and land use is industrial uses. To the east is planned industrial district zoning, and the land use is Menards as well as undeveloped land. And finally, to the west is planned industrial district zoning with other industrial uses. This aerial does not show the new development underway, but I am aware that the building is relatively complete, and so they're still doing a lot of construction of the site, but the building is up and complete with the parking area surrounding it. The signs are proposed to face to the, I will have to actually double check the second one. One of them is to the south. You can go on to the next exhibit. So this one, yep, this is the south elevation that we're talking about here. For section 22.03C, it states that all display signs shall be mounted on the building which houses the business establishment advertised by such signs. Such signs shall be located on or along a wall of such building which faces a street, parking lot, or service drive and shall be located no more than 15 feet above finished grade or the height of the ceiling of the first floor of the building, whichever is less. The proposed 2 signs would be installed at a height of 26 feet and 8 inches. These signs would encroach 11 feet, 8 inches into the 15-foot height requirement. These are approximately 78% variance requests. And looking at the display, I mean, these are both being proposed at the same height, so there is consistency here. You can see how that renders in reference to the rest of the building and the proportionality. Okay, and then to clarify, the second sign is shown in Exhibit 2 is on the west elevation. So that west elevation facing parking area essentially, however, visible from Corduroy Road. And then the site map on the following page is a better way of explaining sign locations. Sign 1 and sign 2 are both labeled. And that is it for staff review and the exhibits. The rest is the board analysis.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Tracy Beal, and my address is 6487 Hilliard Drive, Canal, Winchester, Ohio. And I represent Columbus Granite. And the sign company actually brought this to my attention. So Day-Night Signs, which is a local sign company as well. I'm happy to go through the criteria with you for this. I do want to note that what they're proposing is appropriate for a building of this size and scale, and appropriate for the way that the building is designed. And the residential property is to the north, and there will be no signs facing the residential property, which is usually a concern. The variance request will not have an adverse effect on the public interest. The sign that is designed is to be in place where the precedence has already been set. Other signs of this height or above the 15-foot height requirement have been approved previously within the township. And I think that each building design aesthetically needs to be taken into consideration. The variance is necessary for them to be able to place the sign that's not obstructing an architectural feature and still be visible and over their entrance. And the overall intent and spirit of the zoning resolution wouldn't be disturbed by approving a variance like this, where other businesses within the township have also needed variances of this type, so it's not unheard of. And the sign would be placed in an area where it's legible to motorists. So those that are traveling along this road would be able to see the sign from a line of sight that allows them to slow and prepare to turn, especially for deliveries. When you're thinking of granite, you're thinking of trucks with very large slabs of material that may need to be delivering, and they need that slowing time. They need to be able to prepare for their turn into the parking lot. So that visibility is extremely important for the type of business that's going to occupy this location. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have.
On your slowdown,
Yes.
if a truck is coming north, you got 1, 2, 3 lots, you'll see the sign on the front. Then you'll have to go to the next road, turn right again, and come back to it.
Yeah,
Okay, that you have no driveway out on 23.
right,
Your
Right.
driveway's from the back road.
right.
Same thing going south. So I don't see how you can cue the drivers until after they've seen your building,
I understand what you're saying.
okay?
Yes, parallel signs aren't as visible. So the parallel sign that faces the roadway where they're traveling, that sign isn't as visible or legible to them. They're going to be relying on the sign on the west elevation when they're traveling, and if they're coming from the opposite direction.
Well, even, I don't know anybody that doesn't bring up a Google map of where they're supposed to be going.
Absolutely.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we've got that covered. Other questions?
On Exhibit 1, the south elevation, it shows what look to be windows. Are those actually windows, or are those architectural features,
I
such as
believe
framing?
that those are to be windows,
So
but I
you-
did not design the building, so I can only go off of the illustration
You
that's
have
been
a
provided.
second floor, correct?
I don't know, I have not seen the construction plans for the interior of the building, so I can't speak to that. Staff may have seen the building plans.
Yeah, as far as the floor plans, this was looked at strictly under that 15-foot standard. Essentially, though, with the approval of a variance, you're still granting them an approval that gives them relief in the face of either or, both of those standards, above the
Right, but
first floor.
the first floor is considerably lower than our 15 feet.
Right, yeah, and what I'm saying,
So the
C1.
variance would be much bigger if we were going to go with the first floor level.
yes and no, I guess the quantification of it I'm not sure how you would quantify the
I'm a
percentage
pretty good math
difference.
person, so.
Well, I'll leave it
if-
to you, yeah.
If it's at 1111, which is normal start of the second floor, 12 feet roughly, now the sign would have to be below the top of that 12 feet. So now you're moving it up to where you want it, you're almost 100% variance.
If they indeed had a second floor, then wouldn't the requirement be different? Wouldn't they be allowed to have it higher?
No, less. It's to the top of the first floor or 15 feet, whichever is less.
Yeah, I have no knowledge of the construction of the interior building, so I honestly cannot tell you that.
Well, and this should have been looked at before the design of the building was done.
Did you look at alternatives, given that, so anything over 25% we consider a significant variance? This is at 78%. Did you all look at, alternative sign options to be a little more in requirements with the zoning?
I can honestly tell you that this was brought to me at the point where I was told the variance is needed. It was not brought to me in the planning phase.
Okay.
So I do not know what alternatives were considered prior to that. And in my conversations, have pretty much mostly been with staff to present the variance and submit the variance. My apologies.
Okay,
If they
that
give
seems to
you-
happen a lot.
Yeah, I gotta say, if they give you no information,
Right, and not to, staff has been wonderful to work with, so I don't wanna throw them under the bus, but I don't think that they anticipated these questions. Had these questions been presented to me, I would have come prepared with answers for you, and I apologize for that.
Well, I do think this is a nicely designed building, and I believe that if the sign was located where code says to put it, it would not be as attractive. I believe
Or
that this
visible.
makes sense to have the sign where you have proposed it. It is significant. It's a very significant variance. But I believe that we are given the leeway to look at these types of things and to say that really wouldn't look right. It would not be helpful to anyone that turns in that street and is looking for someplace to go look for their marble. I can't imagine that you would have designed a building this height unless you needed that height. And I don't think you would have said, well, we have to keep it at 15 feet, so we won't build a second story. So I really believe that this is the appropriate place in my limited design skills for a sign of this type. And I intend to
Thank
vote
you.
to approve it.
go ahead.
The one other point, I guess, with the windows, so that's critical, at least in with the other board members bringing up that question, whether there is a second floor, whether these are sham windows, in essence, just spandrel glass that's just there for visual and has no floor up there at all. It's just vacant space. That happens at times for proportion, because if those windows weren't there, then there's a lot more leeway for that signage to drop and be lower. However, I also agree with comments made about the appropriateness of it, the scale, the speed, corduroy, the use of that road with other warehouse-type facilities and buildings of that scale. And the windows also are a nice feature. They create scale, and that helps. So I indeed hope those are actual active vision lights there into space, into second floor.
I don't like to make assumptions, and I don't want to legally testify that there's no second floor. But I can tell you that on the alternate elevation, the west elevation, I believe it is, there shows a door for a truck. And I would think that if there was a second story going all the way across, that trucking door wouldn't be where it is, that truck bay. For tractor trailer deliveries, that door would not be appropriate. So it is quite possible that it's a one-story building and that the windows are there for aesthetics, or that a portion of the building may be 2 stories. And I honestly cannot
Yeah.
tell
Sure.
you. I
I-
can't testify either way.
I can add some detail, at least that I found. So I pulled up the permit that was approved back in 2023. I believe that the windows, at least the ones that we're looking at here, are real. It says exterior windows to be 1-inch TK clear, low E insulated glass, tempered as required. And then there's other details that I don't know about windows, but I think those are real windows. I'm still not sure about the floors, but those
Yeah.
windows are
Okay.
there and real.
Thank you.
Another question. The roof shows sort of a flat roof. Is it a flat roof? Is it mansard on the edges?
It appears to be a flat roof to me as well. I don't have any elevations that depict anything else. It appears to be a somewhat industrial style building
Yeah.
that's trying to incorporate an aesthetic appeal of it being more like an office building, a cross between industrial and office. So yes, I would believe so. Both
So-
of my illustrations show it as a flat roof.
Yeah. I just don't know where the AC equipment is. That's what made me
I would
ask.
hope that it'll be shielded by landscaping wherever it is.
Yes.
Or
And-
you're referring up on the roof?
Yep.
And
mean-
that would all be decided in the original
Yeah.
zoning permit approval, the
But-
screening and AC and everything.
A lot of times you see it in the roof design if they're gonna put it on top.
Mhm.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Care to make a motion?
Is there anyone from the audience?
Oh.
We ought
Oh.
to just check. Is there anyone from the audience that'd like to speak on this?
Okay.
Okay. Based on these factors discussed and reviewed, I move to approve case number VA-24-16 for property located at 601 Corduroy Road, Lewis Center, Ohio, 43035, seeking 2 area variances from the Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.03, subsection C, subsection 1, for the 2 proposed wall signs to be installed at a height of 26 feet 8 inches from grade to the top of the signs in an area zone planned industrial district.
I'll second.
Motion made by Mr. Pax, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Treffs,
No?
Mr. Pax,
Yes?
Ms. Ross,
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sandar.
No,
All right, that's a 3-2 in favor, so that motion does carry. Motion is approved.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All right, I think we're at number 5 in terms of our business tonight, and that would mean we are at variance request VA 2417. This is for the property located at 8870 Columbus Pike. Similar to the last case, these are wall sign variance requests, and they're also for two new wall signs. So just to back up, the applicant represents Meyer, and they are proposing the 2 new wall signs for the primary facade to exceed the 15 feet 0 inches height above finished grade requirement. These signs are identified in this report as the following. Sign number 1 referred to as the home sign. So that's home inscribed text. And then sign number 2 referring to the fresh wall sign. Signs number 1 and 2 are proposed 23 feet and 0 inches above finished grade, which exceed the height requirement by 8 feet and 0 inches. Just for some context, the applicant had recently been approved for several wall sign face changes, and these being face changes are not subject to that 15 feet 0 inch requirement. I did want to list those out. So the existing signage that received face changes were for the Meyer primary wall sign, which was approved on December 29th, 2023, for the Pharmacy Drive-Up wall sign, which was approved the same date, And then for the Meyer Monument sign out front, located next to the main drive aisle, that was on the same date. The subject property is located at 8870 Columbus Pike, and it has parcel number 318-324-02003007. All right, the surrounding area. To the north, the zoning districts, so we have a few different zoning districts going on. The zoning district to the north is the Route 23 Corridor Overlay District partially, and then also Planned Commercial and Office District. Those land uses are Cheswick Village and other commercial uses respectively. To the south, the zoning district is Farm Residential District, and the land use there is single-family residences as well as Heather Lane. To the east, the zoning is Planned Commercial and Office District. Land uses include Staples, part of the currently vacant shopping center beside Staples, and then US 23. And to the west, the zoning district is single-family planned residential district, and the land uses are single-family residences as well as High Meadows Village subdivision. And those are within High Meadows Village subdivision. So let me direct you to the zoomed-in view, 34 or so acre site with varying land uses around it. It has been there, I believe 1991 was when the development was approved. Next view, zoomed out context shows High Meadows Village, single-family residences to the west and farm residence to the south, and your other commercial uses to the south and east. Okay. For staff review, we have, like the last request, the exceeding of the requirement from section 22.03 that wall signs must be 15 feet, no more than 15 feet above finished grade. We know clearly that this is a single-story building. So you can see through Exhibit 1, that is wall sign number 1 with the home letters. And the applicant the applicant is proposing wall sign number 1 on the east elevation to be placed at height of 23 feet 0 inches. Variance request of 8 feet 0 inches is being requested, and this represents a roughly 53% variance request from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22. All right. For Exhibit 2, the wall sign, fresh, east elevation, similar type of a sign, similar lettering, just states the fresh. That is the same height, same variance of 8 feet 0 inches, and represents roughly 53% variance request from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22. The applicant provided the below. As you can see, home and fresh are same 23 feet 0 inches to the top of the sign. You can see where they are on that quite linear front facade. Finally, I believe we have the site plan. This shows essentially all of the signs that are located on the Meyer site currently. And it doesn't really distinguish it, but just to point out that the fresh and the home are proposed signs. They have not been installed, so they are requesting that variance. They are the two exceptions, being that they're the only signs proposed. And that would be all I have for staff review and the exhibits. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Is someone here to speak for this one? Okay.
My name is Cindy Bellucci. My address is 1917 Henry Avenue Southwest in Canton, and I was sworn in. We're asking for a variance because we did a refresh of the current signs that they have. The Meyer channel letters that are on the building right now are 25 feet above grade to the top of them. So in putting the new home and fresh channel letters up there, we want to make sure that it's aesthetically the same or close to, so that people can see it and it looks good. And I think Meyer is asking to do this because they're putting up new new stores in Northeast Ohio, and they all have the Home and Fresh on their branding, and this store didn't. So they like to keep everything in line, so. And that's, any questions?
And all the signs are above the awning?
Yes. We looked at putting them a little bit lower on top of the awning or even attaching it to the awning, but the top of the awning is 15 feet. So it's still going to be above.
Yeah.
I have a question. Can you help me understand, the home, is 14 feet 6 inches wide, but fresh is 13 feet 4 inches wide, and it's 5 letters versus 4. Can you help me understand?
An M in
I was just
there.
wondering if those were flipped or something.
There's an M in there, and it takes up more space.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's it. I
It
was
is,
just
huh?
wondering, I was just curious.
Yeah,
It's,
it is.
you're correct.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Good call.
I was a typesetter in a previous
Okay.
life.
I was like, how does that make sense? Okay, it's the M.
What's that?
That's my only
You
question.
may reach over and,
Can I?
I don't have any other questions.
I can make a motion.
Yeah, are you ready?
I'm good.
Okay. Go for it.
Based on these factors, I move to approve case number VA-24-17 for the property located to 8870 Columbus Pike Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking a variance from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.03, C, to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign /1 to be 8 feet 0 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zone planned commercial and office district.
A second.
Motion made by Ms. Sindar, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Treffs,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sindar.
Yes,
All right, and the motion carries. That's for sign number 1
east elevation.
on the east elevation.
Yeah.
Correct.
So,
One more.
Yes,
so can I do it or?
Sure.
Does it? Oh,
on
okay.
the roll.
Approve, based on these factors, I move to approve case number VA/24-17 for the property located at 8870 Columbus Pike, Lewis Center, Ohio 43035, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.03C, to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 2 to be 8 feet 0 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zone plan commercial and office district.
Second. Oh, sorry.
Got Ms. Neff. So motion made by Ms. Sindar, seconded by Ms. Neff. Those voting, Mr. Treffs,
Yes?
Mr. Pax.
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sindar.
Yes.
And that carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, we're down to our last two, and they also involve signage. It looks like we have the applicant who will help us out with both of them tonight. So just by the way that it was ordered, the first one is for 8823 Owen Field Drive. And this is for a future cafe called Another Broken Egg. They are proposing 2 new wall signs for the primary facade, both of which will exceed 15 feet 0 inch height requirement above finished grade. These signs are identified in this report as sign number 1, referring to the north elevation sign, and sign number 2, referring to the east elevation sign above the primary entrance. So sign number 1 is proposed 17 feet and 8 inches above finished grade, which exceeds the height requirement by 2 feet 2 feet and 8 inches. Sign number 2 is proposed at 19 feet 0 inches above finished grade, which exceeds that height requirement by 4 feet 0 inches. The existing building has been vacant for several years, which was a previous Panera Bread restaurant. Another Broken Egg received permit approval for exterior modifications on March 18th, 2024, which included exterior updates, including awning repairs, new cladding and paint. Subject property located at 8823 Owenfield Drive, Powell, zip code 43065, and having parcel ID 318-324-11005-000. Surrounding area, direction towards the north, the zoning district is planned commercial office district, and the land use there is a vacant restaurant currently, foreshadowing that we'll talk about. It's proposed as a Del Taco restaurant. To the south, the zoning is planned commercial and office district, and the land use is Meyer and the Fifth Third Bank. To the east, the zoning is also planned commercial and office district. Land uses are Staples, vacant shopping center US 23. And to the west, the zoning is Route 23 Corridor Overlay District. That is specifically Cheswick Village. All right, these aerials, again, they're not brand new, but this does, because this is an existing restaurant, this does give you an idea of the setting, some treed area to the south, but otherwise fully developed with Cheswick Village, as I mentioned, directly to the west, and to the north, that Del Taco, proposed Del Taco restaurant. You can see it's right adjacent to US 23. This is an outlot, so access is served by the service road just to the west, which is Owenfield. Okay, now we'll switch over to our exhibits. These give you an idea of the rendering of the new sign, and the applicant, so just like our previous variances, the applicant is proposing wall sign number 1 north elevation to be placed at 17 feet and 8 inches. This would be a variance of 2 feet and 8 inches, and it represents roughly 18% variance request from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22. Okay, exhibit 2 being wall sign number 2. Technically, this would be east elevation, and it would be placed, the wall sign number 2 is to be placed at a height of 19 feet and 0 inches. A variance request of 4 feet and 0 inches is being requested. This represents a roughly 26.67% variance request from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22. And so you've already seen the aerials, but this is from the applicant indicating where those two signs are both proposed. That would be all I have.
Good evening, my name's Brad Petro, 4330 North Bend Road, Ashtabula, and I have been sworn in. So as you can see depicted in the drawings, this is a former Panera Bread cafe. There will be some exterior renovations, and the awnings will be kept, the lighting will be kept. This is the natural placement of where signs were and where we're proposing the signs. There's nowhere else really on the building to put them, so pretty self-explanatory, but if you have any questions.
Are the signs illuminated? I mean, backlit illuminated, I should say.
The rooster is front lit and backlit, and the Broken Egg Cafe is halo lit, so it'll just.
I'm sorry, what is the rooster? I didn't get.
The rooster, the
Yeah,
chicken.
yeah,
The
is
round
that
logo-
illuminated?
Yeah, the round logo will light out the front, and it'll also halo against the building. The other letters halo against the building.
I assume that's the same on the north side.
Yes, the north side is the exact same layout, it's just
Yeah.
a smaller, it's a smaller side.
The letters were the same size on both elevations, correct?
No, the north
No.
elevation is smaller.
Oh, they're not, oh, yeah, it's 18 and this is,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 19.
Thank you. Any discussion? Someone want to make a motion?
Also, I did not receive any correspondence, just to
Oh,
clarify.
okay. I wouldn't think you would.
No, not for this.
There's no one else out in the audience. I can't
No.
see.
Well, not only that, but where it's at, it's all commercial behind, so. Woods.
Well, if you're ready for a motion.
Yep.
Based on our considering factors, I move to approve case number VA 2418 for the property located at 8823 Owenfield Drive, Powell, Ohio, 43065, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution section 2203C to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 1 to be 2 foot 8 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zoned planned commercial and office PC district.
I second.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Ms. Sindar. Those voting, Mr. Treps,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Ms. Ross,
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sindar.
Yes.
And that motion does carry. That's for sign number 1.
I'll do sign number 2.
Okay.
Based on the factors we've discussed, I move to approve case number VA 24-18 for the property located at 8823 Owenfield Drive, Palo, Ohio 43065, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution section 22.03C to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 2 to be 4 feet 0 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zoned planned commercial and office district.
A second?
Motion made by Ms. Neff, seconded by Ms. Ross. Those voting, Mr. Treps,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Ms. Ross.
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sindar.
Yes.
Motion carries.
When are you going to open?
Yes, bring it on.
Just curious. I mean, like, wait,
I think they just got all the final financing and everything in place, so that pending, I don't know where they're at with their permits, but it should be beginning soon.
sorry.
Okay. I think it's safe to move on to our final item of business in terms of the applications.
Yes.
So you're welcome to have a seat, or you're welcome to
I've been sitting,
stretch your leg.
I'm gonna sit for a ride home, so.
There you go. Either way. This application corresponds to the parcel, as we alluded to, immediately to the north of the previous, which is at 8787 Owenfield Drive. So the applicant is representing Del Taco, and they are proposing 2 new wall signs for the primary facade and secondary to exceed the 15-foot, 0-inch height above finished grade requirement. These signs are identified in the report as sign number 1, referring to the south side elevation sign, and sign number 2, referring to the east elevation sign. Signs number 1 and 2 are proposed 20 feet and 3 inches above finished grade, both of which exceed the height requirement by 5 feet and 3 inches. So the existing building has been vacant, and this was previously a White Castle restaurant. Del Taco submitted a zoning permit application for exterior modifications on March 18th, 2024, which includes exterior updates and awning repairs as well as new paint. The subject property is located at 8787 Owenfield Drive, Powell, Ohio, and has parcel number 318-324-11004000. The surrounding area is very similar to the last property. Essentially, the only difference being that it's just to the north, so the adjacent use to the north is Pizza Cottage. That zoning to the north is planned commercial office district, by the way. To the south is planned commercial and office, I mentioned before, but Meyer, Fifth Third Bank, and then the proposed another Broken Egg Cafe. To the east, the zoning is planned commercial and office, land uses being Staples vacant commercial and US 23. And to the west is planned commercial and office district with Steak and Shake and Cheswick Village. Again, that Route 23 corridor district zoning. Okay, this should look somewhat familiar, just as we mentioned. They are adjacent to each other with a drive aisle cut through essentially to that right and right out off 23 for access. Zoomed out view, you saw this already. Let's jump right into the exhibits. All right. Exhibit number 1 is wall sign number 1. The drawing here is clear cut in terms of showing you the 20-foot and 3-inch grade to top of the sign measurement there. The applicant proposing wall sign number 1 east elevation at that 23 feet and 0 inches height means that a variance of 5 feet and 3 inches is being requested. So this represents a roughly 35% variance request from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22. And on the other side, we have essentially, I think they're both the same size, same height off grade, 20 feet and 3 inches. So variance of 5 feet, 3 inches is also being requested, same 35% variance request. And for your reference, the locations of the proposed wall signs on the site plan. And that is all I have.
One question. The two signs look like they come into a corner. Do they actually meet?
No, they're two separate elevations.
They're centered with both of those
Yeah,
areas.
that's an architectural element, and I know that they worked with staff on the materials and stuff.
Yeah.
Based on what their corporate standard is, so that was changed up a little bit, but those signs are centered on those build-outs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like the stripe, vertically striped elements come to a corner, right?
Well-
90-degree corner.
Oh,
Yes,
Two signs, they actually abut to each other, right? There's no gap?
no,
here?
that slat wall system, whatever you're gonna call it, connects in a 90-degree.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's all I was asking.
That's what you were saying, okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, those will butt up to each other, and there's no gap between them.
Yeah.
The stripes, what color is that?
Typically, they're like a dark bronze, black color, but I don't know, I wasn't involved with the changes or whatever was requested. I know they requested some different materials.
Yeah, and I think that's a hardy backing that they went with, if I kept up with their revisions. Hardy plank, which is
Hardy
that
plank, yeah.
cement type of siding
Yeah, it's-
product.
It's typically, if you are familiar with like a Taco Bell, how they have the slat walls, it's like a Duranotic metal, but they changed the material for this.
Yeah.
The east elevation and the north looks slightly different. We could, the east have a like grid.
Oh,
Yeah,
it looks like, yeah, little blocks versus slats.
yeah.
But they're both the same?
They're identical,
They are the same.
They're identical?
yes.
Yeah, I think that's
It's probably-
just a function of how
The
it's
print.
printed out.
Okay, okay.
You're talking about this section, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Where the signs are located, are those where the main signs were located on the White Castle as well? Do you know?
I tried to go back, I think I saw one photo where White Castle had signs on both of those.
Look at exhibit 3, that shows you where keep turning, there you go. So they're
Okay.
they're on
On
the
the like,
east and the south.
They'll be facing the main road and then the corner of the
Okay.
cut-through road. The right in, right out, I
Yeah,
guess is.
it does make sense.
The colors on the, I believe it's yellow or red, or those illuminated or what are, what
Yeah, the-
material? is
Yeah,
that?
these are all face illuminated, so there's a sunburst, which is yellow and orange.
Okay,
The letters are white, and then the green pasture hill, whatever you want to
Yeah.
call it. Those are all face lit.
Okay. Other questions? No?
Ready for a motion?
Yep.
Based on the considering factors, I move to approve case number VA 2419 for the property located at 8787 Owenfield Drive, Powell, Ohio, 43065, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution 22.03C to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 1 to be 5 feet 3 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zone planned commercial and office PC district.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Ms. Neff. Those voting, Mr. Treps,
Yes.
Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Ms. Ross,
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
Motion passes. Variance is approved.
Based on the considering factors, I move to approve case number VA 2419 for the property located at 8787 Owenfield Drive, Powell, Ohio, 43065, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution 22.03C to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 2 to be 5 feet 0 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zone planned commercial and office PC district.
I'll second.
I may have you reread that, and that's again on me as not indicating exactly correct. Wall sign number 2 should be also 5 feet 3 inches, as opposed to 5 feet.
I'm sorry.
0. No, that was my
It said
typo.
that, I just saw it in the text rather than the numbers.
Correct. Sorry about that.
I'm glad to reread that. Based on the considering factors, I move to approve case number VA 2419 for the property located at 8787 Owenfield Drive, Powell, Ohio, 43065, seeking an area variance from Orange Township zoning resolution, section 22.03C, to allow for the wall sign identified in this report as wall sign number 2 to be 5 foot 3 inches above the allowed 15 feet in an area zone planned commercial and office PC district.
Second.
Motion made by Ms. Ross, seconded by Mr. Treps. Those voting, I'll start with Mr. Pax.
Yes.
Mr. Treps,
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff,
Yes.
and Ms. Sundar.
Yes.
That motion carries as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
you.
All right, I think we're to a place where the only item we have left is the minutes for April. You had received all of those a little bit of time ago, maybe about 2 weeks ago, and I know a couple of you were gracious enough to give some comments on those. I think that the comments that you gave were useful, and we made changes as we were able to, so those have been incorporated as of today. I didn't know if any of you felt comfortable with making a motion to approve those minutes, but that is the item before us, and May will be upcoming next month.
Okay.
I'll make the motion. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah.
Okay. I make a motion to approve the minutes from April 18th, 2024, for cases VA 24-09, VA CU 2410, and VA 2411.
I'll second.
Motion made by Ms. Neff, seconded by Mr. Treves. Those voting, Mr. Pax,
Yes.
Mr. Treves,
Yes.
Ms. Ross?
Yes.
Ms. Neff?
Yes.
And Ms. Sundar?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you all. That, I think, is the last item in the order of things. So if anyone has any comments or questions for the good of the group?
I would like to thank Andrew
Yes.
for his hard work and dedication to this board and to the township, and I wish you many blessings and good luck in your new life and your schooling and everything that goes with it, and I hope you find a home soon.
Thank you very much. I learned a lot. It's been great to work with you guys, so appreciate it.
We're gonna miss
Good
you.
luck with you.
Definitely.
Definitely will miss you. Yeah. Well, he's here for another week, so if you need him,
Pile it on.
yeah.
If there's nothing else before the board, I move to adjourn.
I'll second that.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourn.
Man, we moved through that.
Yeah, good job, guys.
I think even compared to the 6 case one